It's time for a Drunk Talk TV Music Industry News Desk Report.
Strap yourself in for where prohibited batteries not included, not available in the state of shock.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Drum Talk TV News Desk Report, the final one of 2025, and then we'll be back in January. And once again, I'm Steven Schinder, and this is Shiley Graf. Shiley, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited that it's winter break for me and that the holidays are so close by. How are you, Steven?
I'm doing well, and yeah, very much looking forward to, getting with family for the holidays. So a lot to look forward to and seeing friends and whatnot. So for those tuning in, you might see on the ticker below about this holiday discount deal we have going on. So from now through January 3rd, we have you can sign up for the premium version of drumtalktvbrilliance.com by going to the yearly option, after you click the premium sign up button that's right on the front page of our site. And once you go through all those steps, there will be a payment portal. And if you go to the applied discount code section, you can put in the code DTTVB111. The letters are all caps, and then it's just the number 1 3 times. And you'll be able to get a year of the premium tier for just $12. So essentially paying for 1 month and getting 11 months free, and there's no auto renewal. And you'll gain access to exclusive fan Q&As with artists, producers, and record executives, fun fact segments from interviews, unlimited number of submissions to our monthly drumming challenges, and more fun stuff. So yeah, you'll see the reminder of that at the bottom throughout this whole thing. But now it's time for the next section of this.
It's time for
All right, Steven, I have an icebreaker for you today. It's a little bit holiday themed since, Christmas is just next week. What is your favorite part of the holiday season? What do you look forward to the most? And especially this year, what are you just super excited to get to?
So one of the things I really like doing during the holidays, seeing people is a given, but getting back to seeing some of the holiday themed movies, because I feel like because of the holiday theme, we kind of just wait until it's December to get around to watching them. And there's some really good ones that have stayed in my rotation from this century, like Arthur Christmas, Klaus, and That Christmas. That one came out last year. And there's a live action one called Let It Snow. So I don't know, like watching those and also showing those to people I know, family or friends who haven't seen them, and seeing how much they enjoy it. It's just a really great feeling,
Yeah, definitely. That sounds really exciting. I think for me, some of the most fun memories come out around this time. My birthday is just right before Christmas. My mom's birthday is just right after the New Year. So we have a lot to celebrate around this time of year. And so we just love getting together. We often go and see family from out of town, and that's always super fun to just like reconnect with everyone and catch up and just play games with each other. I think one of my other favorite things about this holiday season is every year my family will go and drive around our town and look at Christmas lights that people have put up around their yards. And that's always super fun. We'll get like hot chocolate and cozy pajamas and a blanket, get some Christmas music playing, and just have an enjoyable evening looking at lights.
Yeah, that all sounds great. And happy birthday, whether it's past or is coming up, just happy birthday all around. Yeah.
Thank you. It's on Tuesday. So
okay, cool. All right. So now, speaking of days, we got some other days to talk about.
It's time for This Day in Music History. Why not the whole week? Because we'd be here forever.
Okay, on this day, December 19th in 2016, the official chart company announced it was changing the way it calculated the top 40 to reflect the rise in streaming. Since January 2017, 150 streams count as one sale of a song in hopes that it would break the bottleneck at the top of the charts. I think that's really interesting. I think that Spotify and other streaming platforms have really changed the way that we listen to music and consider music. And so it's cool that we're able to adapt to honor the people and allow artists to have the same amount of opportunity to make it to charts, even if their fans are primarily using streaming platforms.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of talk about, artists need to be paid more via streaming, and definitely all for that. So we'll see, how things continue, as things go along. In 2015, Michael Jackson's classic album Thriller became the first to sell more than 30 million copies in the US, 33 years after its release. The Recording Industry Association of America reported at the time that the Eagles' greatest hits, 1971 to 75, had sold 29 million, and Billy Joel's greatest hits, Volume 1 and Volume 2, had sold 23 million copies. So there you have info about these compilations, but you also got Thriller right there, the album that pretty much everyone knows.
Yeah, definitely a pretty big honor there. In 1994, the Manic Street Preachers played the first of 3 nights at the Astoria, London, which were the last shows that Richie Edwards made with the band before disappearing. The lyricist and rhythm guitarist disappeared on February 1st of 1995, leaving no clues to his whereabouts and has never been seen since. He was declared deceased on November 8th, 2008. That's a really crazy thing to happen. I think it probably happens more than people realize and think about. I'm a big true crime enjoyer, and the amount of stories like this where people just go missing or they're murdered or whatever are just really, really crazy. And so that it happened to someone in a band is just also wild.
Yeah, like after you brought my attention to this, I read into this whole thing, how he disappeared and nobody knows where he went. Some people claim to have sightings of him, but they're all like unverified. And so the fact that someone can be gone for so long that they're considered deceased, it's such a weird thing. And it's just one of those mysteries that really keeps you wondering. But moving on to 1981, ABBA scored their 7th UK #1 album with The Visitors, the Swedish pop group's 8th and final studio album. It was one of the first records to be recorded and mixed digitally, and was the first in history to be manufactured on the new CD format in 1982 on Atlantic. Yeah, like there have been times when I've wondered, how far back did we start having CDs? And this having that honor of being there really early on, that's quite a way to end that 8 album run.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that ABBA is one of the biggest bands of all time. Many of their songs are super popular, and so for them to not only make all of these records but also be the first to have a CD in this new format back in the 80s is really just a huge thing for that group. In 1978, Jimmy Page said on this day he was recording Led Zeppelin's In Through the Outdoor album at Polar Studios in Stockholm. Quote, midway through the final week at Polar Studios in Stockholm, with a few guitar overdubs and the final mixes undertaken, I was now well on the way out, completing what would become Led Zeppelin's final studio album, to be titled In Through the Outdoor, Robert Plant's title.
Yeah, and Dan, who is, of course, my dad and also the founder of Drum Talk TV, he had this to say about that album, because I'm sure some of you who follow Drum Talk TV know he's like really into Led Zeppelin. He says, I remember how exciting it was when this album came out. It was received with mixed enthusiasm, being that it was very keyboard heavy and not a whole bunch of ripping guitar solos, but I believe it's a masterpiece. it has one of the most progressive songs ever, one of only a few, and that is Carousel Lombra. In the Evening is just a masterpiece as well. One of the exciting things is that the album came out with multiple covers of the same scene, all taken from different angles. When you bought the LP, it was wrapped in a brown paper sleeve, so you couldn't see which cover you were getting. Extremely smart marketing, because a lot of people kept buying them to try to get all or at least multiple covers. There were many other interesting aspects about the packaging. Unfortunately, this tour never made it to the United States after they were in Europe, with John Bonham passing in between. So yeah, that was the last album, and that whole marketing tactic, like, I get it, it's a way to get more sales, but personally it's not a tactic that I'm necessarily into. You know, it's also a thing in comic books with the variant covers. I know people like to try getting different covers, but me, I'm just like, I just want to get like the one thing. And so I don't know, it kind of feels like trading cards, I guess, when you like open it, don't know what you're gonna get. But yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I mean, they do that for toys now and different mystery packages and items. And I don't understand it. I'm like, I don't really need anything extra than the one. So, but you know, some people are really into collecting, and I have to respect that.
Yeah.
Going back to 1970, Elton John's first U.S. hit, Your Song, entered the Billboard Hot 100, where it went on to reach number 8. The song also reached number 7 on the UK singles chart in January of 1971. The Hollies had been offered the song but turned it down. Three Dog Night had already recorded a version and included it on their album It Ain't Easy. However, they didn't release it as a single, as they wanted Elton to have a go with it. He had opened for the group and was an upcoming artist at the time. I think that's actually really awesome for Three Dog Night to do, to realize, hey, we have this, it's already on our album, but we're not going to like push it anymore. We'll let Elton have it, try it, and see where he takes it. And obviously it became a really big hit for him.
Yeah, like Elton really went a long way. In fact, the other day I was watching the second Spinal Tap movie, because I didn't see in the theater and it's on streaming now, and Elton plays himself in the movie, and it's a really fun role the way that they have him there. But going back to 1964, the Beatles' fourth album, Beatles for Sale, started a 7-week run at number 1 on the UK album charts. Recorded when Beatlemania was just past its peak, this album was their 4th album in 21 months. Man, that's wild. You know, 4 albums within less than 2 years. You know, that, I guess that was kind of the thing back in the day, but these days it's like, even with the technology that people have, it still takes longer to go through making an album, let alone 4 albums, which is kind of interesting to think about.
Yeah, definitely. They were very speedy about making albums fast at that time. And actually, we have a little news segment coming up in the music industry news that we'll talk about more albums that were made very quickly as well. So stay tuned for that. In 1957, Elvis Presley was served his draft notice for the U.S. Army and went on to join the 32nd Tank Battalion, 3rd Armor Corps, based in Germany. Very interesting bit of news at the time, obviously, very common to get drafted to the war effort, and Elvis Presley was not immune to it either.
Yeah, like, I feel like I keep learning more and more about Elvis's life. You know, I'm mainly familiar with the hits, but that's like, oh, like that happened in his life, huh? I didn't know that. But yeah, so that's This Day in Music, and later on in the show we'll talk about some of the big news items that we covered on the show in the music industry. But speaking of music history and memories, you can get the personalized hardcover concert journal from Medley Merch. Check it out in this video.
What concert would be your first entry if you had an ultimate concert journal? Your most recent concert? Your next concert? Or would you go way back like me and enter your first concert? For me, it was Led Zeppelin. Now you can with the I Was There personalized music performance diary premium hardcover book. This is for all live music fans who experience live shows from clubs to stadiums. And what an amazing keepsake, and it makes a great gift. Use Drum Talk TV 25 at checkout for a one-time 25% discount, so load up. Get yours now via the link in the post.
Yeah, check that out, folks. And now we'll go into what's happening at Drum Talk TV.
Let's see what's in the news at Drum Talk TV. Yeah.
Always great music cues there. Again, from now through January 3rd, you can sign up for the premium version of our membership site at drumtalktvbrilliance.com by going to the yearly option and using the code in all caps in one word, DTTVB111 at checkout. This will give you a year for just $12, so you essentially pay for 1 month and get 11 months free. Gain access to exclusive fan Q&As with artists, producers, and record execs, fun fact segments from interviews, unlimited number of submissions to our monthly drumming challenges, and more fun stuff.
Definitely. And we also have this going on, the big VJ talent search. So if you subscribe to the membership site, either as a free member or a premium member, you'll for sure get the info emailed to you in the new year as we basically, sift through people to host interviews, co-host original series, co-host our music-themed game shows, and more. So, we're looking into people of different types to join the Drum Talk TV team and get to co-host and host some of these broadcasts that we do, and event coverage as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. Join the membership and you'll for sure be in the know.
Definitely. Let me tell you, this co-hosting stuff is pretty fun, so don't miss out. And on the note of music-themed game shows, we decided to postpone the championship game that would have been earlier this week. It will now be in the new year on Tuesday, January 6th, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be sure to go to the events calendar on drumtalktvbrilliance.com and RSVP. Past champions will compete, but audience attendees will have a chance to win a prize by by answering pop quiz questions.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun, and you'll want to tune in for that in the new year. And we've been winding down the year for Drum Talk TV broadcasts. Over on Yes Shift, the prog rock podcast that Dad and I simulcast to Drum Talk TV, I reviewed my vinyl copy of guitarist Steve Howe's Signals Crossed EP this past Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Dan went live with Drs. Eric Sandler and Michelle Schechter for another episode of Plugged into Hearing Health, talking about hearing aids in particular. Then yesterday, Thursday, Dad and I did a Yes Shift 2025 year in review episode where we recapped activities of Yes and its current and former members this past year, as well as what to look forward to in 2026.
Yeah, and just before our news broadcast, Dan went live with bassist Jeff Berlin for another episode of Rhythm and Lows, talking about bassist and drummer duos. And after our broadcast, Dan will go live at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to announce the winners of the Mike Portnoy Tribute Drumming Challenge. Then on Sunday, December 21st at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, Dan goes live with Lou Calderola on another episode of Under the Influence, talking about holiday season music.
Right, so definitely tune in to our original series as they come out. But now we have to take a bit of a moment here.
And now a moment to acknowledge those who have passed.
All right. So this one really spread across social media earlier this week. And let me just make sure I have the photo here. Let's see, just give me a moment. And okay, here we go. All right. So Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found dead in their home earlier this week by apparent homicide, as reported by USA Today. The Guardian published an obituary for Rob Reiner, actor, director, and producer known for projects like This Is Spinal Tap, A Few Good Men, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and much more. He got his acting start at the age of 14 with a small part in the television series Manhunt, shortly after moving to Los Angeles with his family. His career path was heavily influenced by his father, Carl Reiner, and the figures he grew up around, including Mel Brooks. He met his second wife, photographer Michelle Singer, on the set of When Harry Met Sally, and the two were married soon after. Michelle's credits include 1990 horror film Misery as a special photographer and a producer on films such as Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues, God and Country, Albert Brooks, Defending My Life, and Shock and Awe, as PBS reported. The couple were outspoken social activists, which many friends and colleagues remembered them for in their tributes. Rob was 78 and Michelle was 70 years old. And yeah, this has been investigated and people can read about all that, but what a career and such classic films. The Princess Bride is one of those movies where people are like, yeah, they should just never remake it. That's how much people love it. And I'd even say it's one of the few book adaptations that I like more than the book. And When Harry Met Sally is also like a really great film. And like I mentioned earlier, I rewatched the first Spinal Tap movie and then watched the second one a few days ago, after hearing about this news. And the second movie, it really feels like a natural evolution from the first one, rock musicians, but how they are today, that type of mockumentary format. And so it seems like it was fun to make. And yeah, just what a tragedy that both of these people are now gone.
Yeah, most certainly. Huge news, shocking to the film community, the music community, all of the things. So very sad for their loss. Also, Joseph Bird, co-founder, composer, and band leader of psych rock group United States of America, passed away on November 2nd at his home in Medford, Oregon. Pitchfork reported that his family confirmed the news with a notice in the Los Angeles Times just this week. The band only released one album during their brief 2-year run, but made a traceable impact on the evolution of psych rock and experimental pop regardless. Raised in Tucson, Arizona, he later was tutored by John Cage in New York City, where he felt at home in the city's flourishing arts scene. He performed his first concert in 1961 in Yoko Ono's apartment, then later worked as an assistant to composer Virgil Thomson. He started United States of America with his then-girlfriend Dorothy Moskowitz in 1967, after the couple moved to LA in 1963. Their LP never gained commercial access despite touring and playing shows with the Velvet Underground and the Troggs. Shortly after the band dissolved, Bird recorded The American Metaphysical Circus in 1969 under the name Joe Bird and the Field Hippies, which also became an influential record in underground music, but took years to achieve that status. Bird was 87 years old.
Yeah, that's quite a life there. And then we come to Joe Ely, Grammy-winning singer-songwriter who was part of Texas's progressive country movement in the 70s, passed away this week. Pitchfork reported that his representatives confirmed that he died from complications of dementia, Parkinson's, and pneumonia at his home in Taos, New Mexico. His career began with country band The Flatlanders, which he formed with Jimmy Dale Gilmore and Butch Hancock in 1972, but he truly found his audience through his 1977 self-titled solo debut. The Flatlanders only released one album in '73 titled All American Music before disbanding the same year. The band regrouped after the members found independent success as solo artists, recording another handful of albums together and performing live. Ely's solo career proved successful, earning him spot number 135 on the Billboard 200 with his 1981 album Musta Nada Gada Lada, and number 12 on the top country albums chart with the same record. His final album, Love and Freedom, was released in February 2025. Ellie was 78 years old. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of many bands where they only release one album and then they're done, and then they all have solo success and then come back and regroup as the band after a while. I can't really think of any other band that's done that, so that's quite fascinating.
Yeah, certainly. That is a huge accomplishment, I think. And I think maybe they just needed some time to grow into their own and figure out what they wanted and then come back to combine all of their skills.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, so now we're shifting gears and gonna be talking about music industry news.
Now let's see what's been going on this week in the music industry.
Okay, Roger Daltrey, the lead singer of The Who, was awarded knighthood on December 10th during a ceremony at Windsor Castle, Yahoo reported. The 81-year-old icon was recognized for his services to charity and music, particularly his work with Teenage Cancer Trust, which he launched in 2000. These benefit concerts have raised more than $30 million. Daltrey said, quote, "For me, it's a double honor because I'm getting it for my work with Teenage Cancer Trust. I'm accepting it on behalf of all of those people who may never get an honor and without whom we would never have made the success we have made of our charity." He's also a co-founder of Teen Cancer America and visited cancer patients at University Hospital's Rainbow Babies and Children's Hospital in Cleveland in 2017. It's a huge honor for him. I'm very happy to see that that is what he's being honored for. And I mean, it sounds like he's doing really great work for cancer patients.
Yeah, it's great to have all these helpful charities and such. It's always good to have that. Paul Simon announced the Quiet Celebration tour dates for 2026 in the UK and Europe. So he announced that this week, and this is extending his comeback tour after coming out of retirement this year. Syracuse reported that these new dates will be his first time performing in countries like England, Germany, Denmark, and Belgium in nearly a decade. Tickets went on sale on Wednesday, December 17th. Simon previously went on a farewell tour in 2018, after which he called it quits due to significant hearing loss. His hearing issues worsened during the making of his 2023 album, Seven Psalms. However, he was able to return to performing with adjustments like speaker placement and setlist changes, unretiring for 50 US tour dates this year. His 2026 tour will kick off with 3 shows in Prague, Czech Republic on April 9th, 10th, and 12th, wrapping up on May 20th in Dublin, Ireland. So this is another instance where a farewell tour happens and then it turns out not to be the final farewell and whatnot, but it's good to see that he's doing well and doing this in a way that works for him.
Yeah, definitely. I completely can see how it's frustrating to have to change the way that you're doing things and, possibly have to give up on your dream. But I'm glad that everyone was able to work together to find a solution for him so that he can keep doing what he loves as long as he wants to. The iconic classic rock band Queen is done with major tours, according to guitarist Brian May's wife, Anita Dobson. Cleveland reported that according to band members, the band is not breaking up, and drummer Roger Taylor said, quote, "I don't think we're done, and I don't think we're going to say a final farewell tour, because it never is it?" Brian May has had some health troubles, suffering a minor stroke last year and a small heart attack in 2020. Queen was formed in 1970 by May and Taylor, later joined by Freddie Mercury on vocals and John Deacon on bass. Their popularity exploded in 1975 with their album A Night at the Opera, which featured Bohemian Rhapsody, and they would go on to have many more big hits. While Mercury passed away in 1991, the band continued touring with vocalists Paul Rodgers and later Adam Lambert. So, like I said, they're probably not going to go on a big major tour again, but I think Anita Dobson had said that they will do little shows here and there and still get together to play. But really, again, it's a case of them prioritizing their health and well-being above everything else.
Yeah, and I mean, no matter what happens, the legacy of Queen's music is just always so strong. You know, you have even young people today who are super into Queen, and it's so cool that they've had that staying power. So Post Malone, hip hop star turned country music singer, made headlines back in June when he tumbled off stage mid song with a red solo cup in hand at a tour stop in Glendale, Arizona. Now, according to Penn Live, he has fallen for a second time on his Big Ass Stadium tour. That's a funny name. This time during his performance in Guwahati, India, again with a red solo cup in hand. He reportedly saved his drink both times like a true pro. Post Malone is planning to release his second country music album in 2026, which is said to feature more traditional country songs than his first album. So, you know, sometimes this is a hazard of public performance, but hey, it's impressive, you know, with a solo cup that he was able to do that. So, yeah, you know, just hoping he stays well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really interesting. I think there's a lot of discourse around what is country music, what isn't country music. And a lot of people would say Post Malone doesn't count. But, I think to some extent, if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. And put whatever you feel like putting out into the world and have fun with it is the biggest, most important part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's the thing I promised earlier during the This Day in Music segment. Earlier this week, ClassicMusic.com published an article highlighting 11 legendary albums that were created shockingly fast. From 1 to 11, here they are. The Beatles' Please Please Me in 1963 was recorded in 12 hours. Black Sabbath, a solo or self-titled album from 1970, was also recorded in 12 hours. Bob Dylan's Bringing It All Back Home from 1965 was recorded in 3 days. Led Zeppelin's self-titled album from 1969 recorded in 36 hours. Miles Davis' Kind of Blue from 1959 was recorded in 9 hours between 2 sessions. Prince's Dirty Mind from 1980 was recorded in 1 week. The Ramones' self-titled album from 1976 was recorded also in 1 week. The band Music from Big Pink, also recorded in 1968, was recorded in approximately 2 weeks. Nick Drake's Pink Moon from 1972 was recorded in 2 nights. The Stooges' self-titled album from 1969 was recorded in 1 day, and Creedence Clearwater Revival's album Bayou Country from 1969 was recorded in 30 days. It's kind of a big time span here from 30 days to 12 hours or whatever, but that is really impressive. I think a lot goes into recording albums, and obviously we can see that all of these happened before, the turn of the century, and so things have changed a lot, and this is when they were doing it, mostly before digital formatting and all of those things, and these are just incredible feats that are very popular to do at the time, so very big deal.
Yeah, and I don't know if this info is out there for all of these albums, but something I want to look into is, were these time spans deadlines set upon them, or were they like, okay, let's see how long it takes to make this album, and then that'll be the album? Because if it was a deadline and you have to do it like within a day or a week or something, that sounds really stressful to me. And I do kind of wonder if maybe because technology has marched on and music is more accessible to people on the internet, I kind of wonder if maybe part of why some albums take longer now is people are maybe more self-conscious and trying to be even more perfectionists than ever before. But yeah, I'm sure there are lots of factors, but it's a really interesting list that we have here. All right, so continuing with music news, Alice Cooper has announced the 2026 tour dates in the US and Europe, picking up right where he left off this year. Parade reported that he has 2 more shows in Germany before the end of 2025, and the first scheduled appearance of 2026 will take place in Las Vegas and will feature special guest Chris Angel. He will also detour to Daytona Beach, Florida for Welcome to Rockville 2026. Cooper also plans to take full advantage of the European Summer Festival season, as he is scheduled to play at Askana Rock Festival, Graspop Metal Meeting, Copenhagen Festival, Tons of Rock, and many more. Earlier this year, the original Alice Cooper band reunited to release the studio album The Revenge of Alice Cooper after more than 50 years. Yeah, we had the drummer of that, Neil Smith, on Drum Talk TV's really cool guy, really great conversationalist. And yeah, this whole thing with special guest Chris Angel with Alice Cooper, like that actually makes sense given how they present themselves and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely. That's very big news for Alice Cooper fans. So super exciting that he has a jam-packed year ahead. All right, rock icon Rick Springfield announced upcoming tour dates for 2026 as well, which could just be the beginning for a busy schedule. Parade reported that in 2025, Springfield played over 60 shows, and so far has announced 8 shows for 2026, starting in Dallas, Texas on March 7th. He will wrap up this set of dates in Gatlinburg, Tennessee on August 23rd, though his website notes that individual show dates will be added throughout the year. Springfield also revealed in a recent interview that he is working on a studio album that will be, quote, a little different. He said, quote, it's going to be a little heavier. There's an approach I'm trying that I don't know if it will work or not, but we'll see. The singer is also scheduled to finish out the year strong, performing on New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. Very exciting. We covered that a couple weeks ago. There's going to be many, many artists. It's going to be a really long performance and night. So definitely tune in for that. That'll be exciting.
Yeah. And 90s band Four Non Blondes recently announced plans to release a new album in 2026, their first full length since Bigger, Better, Faster, More, released in 1992. Parade reported that the band has reunited for occasional live appearances over the years, but never with the promise of new music until now. The group disbanded in 1994 during the recording of a second studio album, which was never released. However, after playing a handful of reunion shows, the band realized that what they shared was more than nostalgia. Rehearsals turned into writing, quote, a bunch of new songs, revisiting some old ones, and bam, we have an album, unquote, according to frontwoman Linda Perry. So this makes me wonder if maybe some of the old ones they're revisiting could be from that second album that never got finished, or if maybe some of that material ended up on other stuff they might have worked on separately after. I'm not so familiar with this band, so I guess it's something I'll have to look into at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is very exciting news. Also, their song What's Going On is super popular on TikTok. Someone had made a remix with that and I think a Cardi B song or something where people would just do a dance trend with it. And so I've heard this song and part of this song a lot recently. And so kind of perfect timing that they've decided to come back together. So very exciting. Now we have a 2025 news recap, since it's the end of the year, the last news desk of this year. So 2025 has been a big year for music news. So here's a little recap of the biggest items we've covered this year. Several bands had a changing of the guard this year, so to speak, and The Who was no exception, as Zach Starkey was let go from the group, replaced by Scott DeVores. This development came after the band originally announced Starkey's dismissal in April, then a week later cleared things up and invited him back, before officially firing him in May. Yeah,
that was a real whirlwind when that happened. He's out, then he's in again, then he's out, and it's like, it sounded like there was maybe some, like, what's the communication like, what's going on here, and and so it's, Zach Starkey, great drummer, and I'm sure can still get work. But yeah, it was such a strange thing that happened. But then in June, we lost 2 huge music icons of the 1960s within days of each other. Sly Stone of Sly and the Family Stone and Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys passed away, leaving a massive legacy behind. Yeah, I remember when these happened, there were lots of posts and tributes. So definitely huge losses.
Yeah, certainly. Those were big news things, especially Brian Wilson's death to me. It was on my mind for a while afterwards. And in July, Ozzy Osbourne's farewell Back to the Beginning concert took over music news, during which his daughter Kelly Osbourne got engaged to Sid Wilson of Slipknot. That was super exciting. It was later revealed that Ozzy had been dealing with some health complications ahead of the concert, but did everything he could to be able to perform one more time. Sharon Osbourne shared that this was the end of her and Ozzy's music careers, saying that they wanted to spend some time in retirement and enjoying life together. Of course, Ozzy passed away just weeks later, leaving behind a larger-than-life legacy and a huge imprint on the rock world. I think that is one of the passings that I will remember learning about forever. It's kind of just such a huge thing. I, was standing in the middle of Walmart when my grandma texted me about it, and I was just like, wow, this is insane. So very sad that they didn't, get the sort of retirement that I think they hoped for, but also very good timing, I think, that he got to have his one last hurrah and celebrate and go out the way that he wanted to.
Yeah, they really got things in under the wire, which, glad that they were able to do that. But yeah, definitely another huge loss here. So the other big news item concerns the band Rush, who announced their reunion and reformation as a band this year. Something that I think lots of people maybe didn't expect, but there were like some rumblings here and there of like, oh, could they be doing something or maybe not? And then finally, like the announcement, I remember I might have even woken up to this announcement, and then it was just everywhere. It was unavoidable. They did like a video where they talked about reuniting and how they want to do this. But yeah, they're scheduled to kick off their 50-something tour on June 7th, 2026 in Inglewood, California. The tour includes 58 shows in 24 cities across Canada, the US, and Mexico next year. More tour dates had to be added in October to accommodate the huge demand on tickets, which led to new cities being added as well. So Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson, they want to honor Neil Peart, who passed away years ago, of course. And on drums, they have Annika Niles. And they have also alluded to possibly having another musician play keyboards. So I think that'll be interesting to see as well, because, in the past, Geddy has sort of done bass and then gone to keyboards depending on the song. But I think splitting the duties will be a good idea. So we'll see what that configuration looks like.
Yeah, certainly. That's very, very big news. And anyone watching, feel free to comment on anything you've seen in this news desk. If you're watching now or later, we'd love to hear your input on this news.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so those are the big news items of the year, but now we come to the ending of the show.
Here's a reminder of what's coming up soon on Drum Talk TV.
All right, so don't forget to use our discount code DTTVB111 to sign up for the premium version of Drum Talk TV Brilliance. And whether you're a free or premium member, you'll for sure get emailed about the big VJ talent search, where you might have the chance to throw your hat in the ring to host interviews, co-host original series, co-host game shows, be part of event coverage, and more.
Definitely, it's a lot of fun, so check it out. And be sure to keep an eye on the events calendar on the membership site as we add more updates. We have the Music Trivia Championship game show happening on Tuesday, January 6th, 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So RSVP to that if you're a past champion who wants to compete, or if you'll be an audience member doing the pop quiz questions with a chance to win something. Lots of fun, so go check it out.
Yeah, definitely keep an eye on the events calendar. So thanks for tuning in, folks, whether it be live or in the archive, and we'll see you all in the new year. Enjoy the holidays. We'll see you all soon.
Yes, definitely. Happy holidays, everyone.